Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. If this is your first time here at the channel, I'd like to say welcome. I'm very glad you're here. I talk about carnivore diet and all things related to the carnivore diet. For the most part, today is day 30 of the September 1% more walking every day challenge. I think I've actually increased by more than 1% every day because I started off, well, I'll show you where I turned around that first day. It's only another little bit. But I need to cover what I didn't get to yesterday about the basics of the carnivore diet. And then stick around to the end because I've got a new challenge coming for October and a big announcement about my health that I think many of you will find interesting. This is where I turned around that first day. I normally turn down that way to go around the block, and if you remember in yesterday's video, I went up this hill, turned around, and came back down to add distance. Well, I'm going to start going up this hill. And then I looked at the map because this neighborhood I live in has a bunch of twisty, turny streets. I mean, it's just a little weird, so you have to really know which street you're turning down, or you end up wandering around in here for hours. And to be honest, I don't usually drive up this way because the main street's out the other direction. So I've got no reason to come up this way. So today we're going to do this, see how it goes. But anyway, yesterday, I talked about what foods to eat, what foods not to eat. Some of you seem to really like the cereal story. You're welcome for that. The biggest thing I didn't get to yesterday, because we just got done talking about electrolytes when I ended the video. So today I want to talk to you about eating to satiety and fasting. I think I had this thing a little bit too close to me. Let me extend that arm out a little bit. Let's try that. Sorry if you could count my nose hairs during the first part of that video. But what eating to satiety means, or as one of our favorite doctors would say, eat until you're comfortably stuffed. Is you want to sit there and of the right foods, keep eating until you look at your plate. You got a fork full of food and you look at it and go, yuck, I just can't eat anything else. That's one way. Now for some of us, when we're just getting started, those signals might not be there. So what I suggest you do to get started is you take whatever you think might be a decent sized meal for you, say, half pound of beef and 3 eggs. And do that, start off with just your 3 meals a day like you normally do. And then slowly move forward. We're going to talk about intermittent fasting all at the same time here. So what you do is one morning after eating those 3 little meals of, like 8 ounces of beef or chicken or pork and 2 or 3 or 4 fried eggs or scrambled or however you like them, That hill was really big, by the way. Now we're turning down the new street, and we're hoping we don't get lost. We'll see how it goes here. Then as you slowly increase the amount of food you're eating in each of those meals, one morning you're going to wake up and say, man, I'm not really very hungry yet. Where you look at the food that you're getting ready to cook and you get kind of queasy and you're like, oh man, I don't want that. Well, don't eat yet. Wait. Just skip breakfast, wait till lunch. And then you will slowly but surely build up to where you're eating 2 big meals a day, or some people even just eat 1 big meal a day. And the reason we want to do this is because we've talked about in the past how when your insulin is up, it's absolutely impossible to burn off any fat, because insulin is the storage hormone. It stores fat. And I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I don't fully understand all of the biomechanics in that, but the way I understand it is that if your insulin is up, it is physically impossible to get at your fat stores and make them go down. You just can't do it. So when you cut back on your eating window, and now instead of only fasting, because we all fast, instead of only fasting for the 8 or 9 hours you sleep, plus after your evening snack and all that, most people get 8 or 9 hours fasting in. Well, if you don't eat that evening snack after dinner because you're full from eating a big dinner, and you get to the point where you're skipping breakfast. Hello, Mayo Guy. How are you today?
Great. How are you, sir?
Not too bad at all. Okay. So you've cut out your evening snack. You're not hungry when you wake up, so you're skipping lunch. Now you're eating your lunch sometime between 11 and 12, and then you eat dinner again sometime between 5 and 6. Well, now all of a sudden you are fasting for 15 or 16 hours a day, and that's where the magic really happens. Don't force it. Let it come to you naturally, because as you increase the size of your meals until you're eating to when you're full, you're just going to not be hungry. You're not going to feel like eating. So don't say, well, everybody on the interwebs and that YouTube machine says you got to fast, so I'm hungry but I'm not going to eat. Don't do that. Number one rule of making this diet work for you is eat when you're hungry, and don't eat when you're not. But when you get to that fasted state of having not eaten anything for 16 hours, your body starts to do what's called autophagy. And there's another word where your mitochondria do the same thing. I don't remember what it's called, but what those two things are is where your cells actually disassemble the bad parts of the cells that aren't working right and back down into their base molecules, which in the case of those of us not eating any carbs is the fats and the proteins. And then they rebuild the cells cells is basically a brand new cell, and that's how your body regenerates itself. And why some of us get to feeling so good, some of us lose a lot of weight. So make sure that you're eating enough, because the biggest thing I've seen in watching several other people is that the people that are coaches, is one of the biggest things they run into is because we come from the mindset, we've been told our whole lives, portion control, don't eat too much, you know, put your food on your plate and leave this much space between each thing on your plate, then you know you're not eating too much. It's hard. We have to retrain our mind to not think like that. Well, that was a pretty good little add-on there. And I'm going to turn when I get down here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it that far up the hill, but there's a stop sign up there somewhere that is where we used to just turn and come down this way. So all that I just walked is extra add-on. So now we're going to go over here and get back on course. So I've lost my place, guys. Somebody remind me where I'm at. I was talking about autophagy and talking about how our cells yeah, okay. Thanks for the reminder. So when we're in that state, our body rejuvenates itself and literally regenerates itself into better stuff, into better cells that work better. And the thing we all want to do, of course, well, most of us, is lose fat. It's amazing how quickly your mind can shift on what you're looking for. Because if any of you watched my earliest videos, I held my hand up in front of the camera and did this. And this was about all the fists I could make when I started. And if you go back and watch those earlier videos, you'll find that, you know, my initial goals were to just feel a little better and be able to stand for more than 2.5 minutes. That was my goal. The weight loss, you know, I was thinking in the back of my mind, you know, maybe this will work for a little bit of weight loss, maybe it won't. But sorry for the odd angle there. I had to switch hands for a minute. The you know, the main reason I was doing this was to hopefully feel better. I thought, you know, maybe the weight loss would be there, but I wasn't super hopeful, because people my age that have tried literally every diet that's come out since 1975, and none of it worked. I didn't have high hopes for weight loss, but seeing some of the people that had cured or put in remission, or whatever you want to call it, or reduced the amount that their arthritis was hurting them, reduced the amount of some of their autoimmune disorders, their skin conditions going away, their acid reflux going away, I thought, well, I've tried everything else. I'm basically just sitting here on the couch or in my trailer waiting to die because I couldn't really do anything. And now here it is. In 10 days, it'll be 5 months. I walked 1.5 miles yesterday. We'll see what the total distance is. You know, if you remember that first walk, I even said, oh, I forgot my cane. I hope I make it. The cane I was talking about is I have one of those collapsible canes that folds out into a 3-legged stool so you can sit down and take a break. And I made it through that first day without having to take a break. But I can tell you, my back hurt when I got back to the house. My legs hurt. I hurt in a lot of places. And I was going to say, oh, heck with it. Nobody's watching, nobody cares. I'm not going to go take that second walk today. But then I forced myself to go take that second walk. And then the third walk. And slowly, but surely, it built into a habit. Here it is 30 days later, and I can't imagine not going out for a daily walk. Now I'm on that long uphill run back up to my street. So yes, you can lose weight on the carnivore, ketovore, ketogenic diet. And that's what draws so many of us to it initially. But then once you start to feel the extraordinary health benefits that you get from it, it's truly amazing. Now, of course, all the disclaimers. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Individual results may vary. But surely anybody out there that's done this for at least 30 days, you have to feel some difference. I would be shocked if you were strict carnivore. That doesn't mean dirty keto or carnivore. You know, you're not filling up on all the keto cookies and cakes and breads and everything else and say, well, this isn't working for me. You're obviously eating too many carbs if you're eating all that junk. But if you've done this without cheating for 30 days and feel absolutely no benefits whatsoever, go ahead and leave me a comment. I want to hear your story. And while those of you that have found benefits from this way of life, go ahead and tell your story down in the comments. Because if you go back and look, the comments on some of my original videos, the only likes they get are the ones I gave them. Now if you look, like yesterday's video, I saw one that had 7 or 8 likes on it, which is still not a lot in comparison to some of the big channels. But that's a lot for this channel. People are reading your comments, and you never know who you might inspire. So get in the comments, tell your stories. And that brings me to my last point about carnivore diet basics. Don't compare yourself to others. You're living your life. You're doing your diet. If you have something that's working, keep doing it. There is no reason to change as long as it's working. And sorry, I'm almost at the top of this last great big hill. But you know, I forget what my first video, well, yeah, semi-retired Bob Goes Carnivore. That was okay. But the next video I posted after that was like 29 pounds in 29 days. That makes a great headline. And the weight does still count. But we all know that there was very little fat being burned in that first 29 days. That was all inappropriate inflammation. And it just whooshed right out of my body. And it kept doing that for a really long time. You know, I got down, I forget what the exact numbers were, I'd have to go back and look. But you know, I got down 80 pounds in like 100 days or 110 days or whatever it was. Literally that first 80 pounds just fell off. I started this challenge at 90 pounds down. And because of all the walking that I've been doing, increasing it every day, I'm putting on muscle, probably strengthening my bones. So the scale really hasn't moved that much. Although this morning, because it was the last day of the month, I am down 5 pounds this month, which is a lot considering how deep into this journey I am. You know, this is Monday was 140, so today's like day 145. So I'm not saying there's no inflammation in my body to dump out, but it certainly is a lot less. So I think 5 pounds for the month of September is a pretty good total. I know my clothes are getting looser. And I certainly walk a lot farther than I did. So in no way could you consider this month a stall. But I said at the beginning of the video I had big news that some of you may be interested in. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago I did that video about my lab results coming back. And at that time, I was down from like 13 drugs in the morning and 9 at night, down to 4 in the morning and 2 at night. I didn't want to say anything till I finished my little experiment, but it's been a week now, and I'm only taking 1.5 drugs. That half drug isn't actually a prescription. It's the baby aspirin that I take, and the other one I still take is my blood thinner. I sent a note to my cardiologist, and he said, keep taking them. You're doing great. Keep taking them for the winter, and when you get back in town next spring, we'll do some testing and decide if you still need to be on that blood thinner. So I'm off all my blood pressure medicines. And this morning, and the reason I started this is I woke up one morning and my blood pressure, just after waking up and sitting for 15 minutes to get beyond that initial surge of waking up, my blood pressure was 102 over 68, which is a little on the low side. So I stopped taking all my blood pressure medicines just to see what would happen. And the first couple of days, it crept up there a little bit. It got up to 128 over 72. One morning it was 132 over 76. And I'm thinking, man, that's starting to climb, but I'm going to give it just a couple of more days while my body adjusts to not having those drugs in my system. And sure enough, this morning, when I got out of bed, sat for about 15 minutes to let that morning surge go away. I just passed the house. I'm going back down to the corner again. So what you see from here on out is what I did that first day. So, but this morning, my blood pressure after that 15-minute sit down and wait was 120 over 72 on a whole week without blood pressure meds. So, I don't think I'm going to need to take those anymore, which is a really big deal. Now I kind of wish I hadn't gone to the pharmacy and spent all that money on refills 3 or 4 days ago. But now I've got them in case I need them, in case something changes down the road. But now as I climb the hill back to the house, let's talk about the October challenge. The September challenge has been really good. And the first thing I'm going to say to you is we need to stop calling it the September challenge now and call it our life challenge. We should strive every day to be 1% better in whatever it is we're doing, whether it be walking or reading books or learning something or whatever it is. We should try to be 1% better tomorrow than we are today, every day for the rest of our lives. But for the exact October challenge, I am going to go try 30 days of straight up, clean, pure lion diet, because several of the people, primarily Dr. Chafee, has said that he felt the best and the most of his improvements when he got rid of that last 10% of stuff. And while I'm having great success with everything I'm doing, I'm going strict lion diet for the month of October. What does that mean I'm giving up? No more Spam, no more sausages, no more coffee. I'm going to go cold turkey tomorrow morning. I'm going to try giving up coffee for a month just to see how I feel. And if I don't notice a great big change, I'll be right back to drinking coffee. But if I do notice a big change in the month of October, then once you've done it for 30 days, you've done it. So if I manage to make it through the 30 days without having any coffee, I will have kicked the coffee habit and won't have to go back to it. So that's all I've got for you today. If you like this video and you want to watch the entire September challenge, click over here. Right here should be another video that you've never seen before. Have a great day, everybody. Remember, get out there and be 1% better today than you were yesterday. That's what it's all about. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you soon.